Hello everyone and welcome to Q the Game Dev. In this video I want to seriously talk to the whole game development community on why you do not need good artwork for your game and how you can still make your game look good and still be good for the players without them thinking it's ugly, without even having good artwork. Because the main problem that many game developers face, including myself, the majority of game developers, we can develop games decently well, but we cannot make the art for the game, and a lot of times that really stagnates our progress when it comes to game development because we're trying to make games. We are not rich to pay artists to pay for all this super high quality art, and we ourselves, we can't make the artwork. So how do we still make our games liked without having good art? Well, you see right here, I have some picture. This is mainly a joke, but it's also not a joke, and it just says peak art, and it's just a simple ugly circle. Now of course you're not going to be able to put this in your game and people are going to like that, but what I'm saying here is that there are games that are played that are extremely simple. People still like the look of them. So how does that happen? Well, the reason why that happens is because there's a difference between what I like to call artwork and what I call visuals. For example, let's say we have this square. We have this square, and right now it looks terrible. People will call this terrible artwork. But let's have another square, and let's imagine that it has more details part of it. And of course, this still doesn't look good. But let's just imagine that this was some crazy type of artwork that had all these different types of details. They would say this one is better, and they would say this one is worse, which many people will agree with. Of course, it's not objective, but many people agree with that the artwork that's more detailed, it has many types of details, it just looks good, that is better artwork, and I would agree with that as well. But there are still games that get away with not having good artwork, but they are super simple and people still like to look at them. So what do I mean by this? Well, there's a difference between visuals and artwork. Visuals is not just the artwork. Right now, this right here individually is just the artwork. But visuals also is the special effects of your game. For example, they call them FX. The special effects of your game are part of your visuals. The sound, might not make any sense right now, but I'm going to explain this later. But the sound of your game, how it interacts with the artwork, whether it's simple or it's complicated, affects the visuals of your game. So it's not just about the artwork itself, it's about how it interacts with the game. Do you have good polish? Do you have what people call good game juice? Is your game impactful? And to explain this further, I want to go through a real example of one of my games. Now, this is no way, shape, or form is some complete proof of why artwork does not matter as much as people say it does. Because this is just a simple game that I just released a few days ago on GD.games, and it had 1,000 plays right now. That may not seem like a lot, but the website only has like 100,000 monthly visitors mainly. So this is a pretty good percentage of people playing the game. It's only been out for a few days, and you can leave feedback on this if you want. But I'm going over the feedback, and you'll see this is GDevelop, the game engine. Whether you're familiar with it or not, it doesn't matter. But you see that we have user feedback. Right now we have 33 pieces of feedback from people who's only been out for a few days. But you'll see that there's different categories. We have sound, we have visuals, we have fun, and then we have ease of use. And mainly what we're worrying about is visuals. Now, when it comes to my game, it doesn't even look good. Now, I'm going to go in here for a second. This is called Color Waves. And it doesn't even look that good. This artwork would not be considered astounding at all. And if I go through one of the levels, let's see, like this one, for example, it doesn't even look that good. And this is a thing in myself, like the wave is not supposed to look like that, the arrow's not supposed to look like that, but that's just a developer thing. I'm on development build right now. But when it comes to the game itself, it doesn't even look that good, but yet you see the visuals are above average, and they could be much better if I added more details to them. But the visuals are above average, and the thing about it is that's because it has game juice. Now, I encourage you to play this. I'm not going to be showing everything here, but I'm just going to play one of the levels. So I'm not trying to like shamelessly advertise the game, but you'll see that there's effects on it when you do certain things. You can't hear it on here, but there's actually music that matches the level. And like I said, once again, not perfect, but it's interactive. That's what I'm trying to say. That it's interactive. It's more than just the artwork of the game that makes people want to play it. Now, another thing is when you're doing your visuals and you're doing your artwork, not everyone's going to like your artwork. If we look at the feedback, when it comes to visuals, is very, very subjective when it comes to it, but it's still overall above average. It's a 6.8, and that's because also the reason why it's a little bit lower is because you have certain people, when you see it 2 out of 2 out of 2 like this, when it's all 2 like this, that means someone mindlessly rated it because That's how the default Gvolt rating is. But anyways, the visual is almost a 7. And you'll see that some people really like the visuals. You have 2, we have 10, we have 3. This guy hated the visual. This wasn't a mindless rating. This was actually a real rating. This guy really liked the visuals. This guy did mindless rating. This guy liked the visuals. This guy liked the visuals. Another mindless rating. Visuals 10, visuals 10, visuals 9, visual 3. This guy really didn't like the visuals. Visuals 7. This is above average still. 10, 6, 6, 10, 1. This guy really didn't like him. 10, visuals 1, visuals 10, visuals 6, 10. Mindless rating again, 7, 8. And you'll see that it's mostly positive, but some people really don't like it. And that's the thing. If you're going to make a game that has simple artwork, the first thing you want to do is tip number 1. You want to put a bunch of effects on your game, and the effects need to match. It shouldn't just be some random effect. The effect should be impactful. It should make the game more dynamic. Also, your game, if you can, the effects of your game, the visuals, should interact with the music if it makes sense for your game. If it doesn't make sense for your game, you don't have to do that. But if it makes sense for your game, your visuals can even match the music a bit or move with the music every now and then. It makes the game much more interactive, much more lively. But the last thing and most important thing is there's going to be certain people who think your artwork is automatically just trash. And you have to deal with it as a game developer in general whenever you're doing any type of art, but especially when you're doing simplified art. Some people are going to think it's absolutely terrible, and some people are going to like it. You see, in this case, the majority of people still liked it, and that's what really matters. When you're trying to make a game, you're trying to capture the majority of the player base. You cannot please every single person, and when you have simple art, there are going to be people who do not like simple art, and they're not going to like your visuals. But that doesn't affect the funness of the game, and once again, if you add a lot of game effects to it, you add a lot of game juice, the artwork does not matter nearly as much. So basically what I'm saying, the whole summary and the lesson of this video is you don't need good game artwork. You've seen many successful games that don't even look that great in terms of artwork. What you need is better game effects that are lively, that match with the game. And of course, last but not least, you need your game to be fun. If you see, for example, this is just one example, but you know games that are fun that don't look that great. This has a fun 7.2 rating, not that bad, it's above average out of 10. It's pretty good for a game that's only been in development for 2 months. And you'll see that some people, people who like the game, they tend to rate every category higher. And the reason why they do this is because when something is fun to you, you tend to ignore other aspects of the game. You tend to ignore other aspects because it's fun. And that's what mainly people are looking for. If you don't have a fun game, people are going to laser focus on your visuals even more if your game is not fun. So you need to have a fun game, and then your visuals, they need to be having effects on them. They don't have to look super detailed. You don't have to be a great artist or a pixel artist to make people still like your visuals. And then last but not least, everyone will not like your game. That's all I had to say. Artwork and visuals. Focus on your visuals. You don't have to be a master at artwork.